Good morning, everyone. Happy Women's History Month. I hope you had an amazing International Women's Day last week. I want to do a big shout out to all of our colleagues at the She Talks tour that we were at in Houston. What an amazing time we had. We can't wait for 2024. If you have not heard of the She Talks tours, it is all over the United States. So please look them up and get connected in your region. What an amazing weekend we had, and I can't wait for all of the great videos to come out. And of course, we'll be sharing them through our social media and providing links on our website. For those of you who don't know, I'm VR Small. I'm the founder and the CEO for the Veteran Women's Enterprise Center. It's a national initiative empowering entrepreneur women associated with the military, first and foremost, our veterans, but also active duty, reservists, and military spouse to scale for success. We like to call ourselves the gap filler, and this year more than ever, we are working to align our clients with our mission and offering some great programs. So just want to give you a couple of quick reminders before we get started. Breakfast with a Banker relaunched in February with Chase, and that oldie but goodie was so good. If you missed it, don't worry, we will be coming back this month with PNC, and we will be in Farmer Branch. So if that's your area, this is your chance to get out and get connected. As we said, we're taking our programming on the road, and we're coming to a location near you soon. Also, Fit Fridays Financial Fitness will kick off this month on March 31st. Our sponsors are still lining up, but that is a half day of financial workout. So while you stretch your physical muscles, come and join us so that we can help you stretch your financial muscles and really strengthen your financial position. Mark your calendars now. June 12th is just a few months away, and Women's Veterans The Pitch is scheduled to happen again. This will be our third year, and this is our fourth year because we started in 2020. So this is super exciting for us, and we have $10,000 on the table this year, just starting off, and we're hoping to raise that or maybe even double it. So if you're interested in sponsoring or getting connected, now is the time. Don't forget, this is the 75th anniversary of the Women Armed Service Integration Act. So this is a super important year for us, a great time for us to come together and celebrate the journey that we have gone through as women veterans, as women in the military. So both those that are serving and those that have served. June 12th will be on a Monday, and we will be planning a full day of events. So go ahead, mark your calendar, set it aside, put that time off so that you can be a part of this amazing day of great activities and events. And always, National Business Women's Week, October 18th is our national conference. And this year, our pitch competition is already set at $50K in cash prizes. First prize, $25K, second prize, $15K, and third prize, $10K. But as always, we're working to build that pool to get more money into you. This year, once again, the VWEC will reinvest nearly $100K back into your businesses so that you can grow and expand, because we believe in investing in you. So during Women's History Month, it's a great time to look and really highlight women. I know sometimes the imposter syndrome comes in and we don't want to talk about the great things that we do or really how great we are, but that's the only way people know. So build up that confidence and don't feel like you're being egotistical or that you're bragging. What you're doing is just sharing your capabilities, sharing your earned media, sharing those things about you that make you a great partner and a great collaborator. And no one will know those things unless you share them. So make sure that you're talking it up and letting people know what you bring to the table. And as we talk about bringing people to the table, I have the amazing Courtney Fairchild. Courtney has been a supporter of the VWEC ever since she found out about us. Every year, where possible, Courtney has just, given to us and just been a supporter in the background, saying, I see what you're doing and I support what you're doing. And I want to just publicly thank her for her continued support. And you guys know when I do these events, I never read bios because I think the best presentation is the person that we're interviewing. But these ladies are so phenomenal. I do want to give you a little bit about them. So Courtney Fairchild is the co-founder and president of Global Services. Ms. Fairchild has been with the company since it was founded in 1997. Go, Courtney.
It's a long time.
The GSA Schedule Programs Division from its inception. Over the past 25 years, she and her team have successfully prepared, negotiated, and managed 3,000 plus scheduled contracts for global services clients. Ms. Fairchild is an authority on all GSA schedules. And you guys don't know what GSA schedules are, you need to look it up because that's where the money is in contracting. Within the multiple awards schedule program and has spoken on related topics across the country. Courtney has worked with companies ranging from multinational to multi-billion dollar, publicly traded corporations to micro businesses consisting of only a few employees. So she's there for all of us. In addition to working with government contractor clients in the private sector, Courtney provides pro bono services to the Small Business Administration, SCORE programs, and small business development centers to assist their constituents in learning about marketing to the federal government, specifically via the GSA schedule. So Courtney's knowledge and renown has reached the federal government procurement community itself and has led to invitations to moderate training sessions at agencies such as the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs to instruct on improvement and implementation of contracting best practices from the agency side. It is this breadth of experience and exposure which allows Global Services to successfully negotiate the federal procurement marketplace for its clients. Now, just a couple of her accolades, because as I told you before, we've got to shout us out. Graduate, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, Honoree Enterprise and Women Award, Honoree Women Impacting Policy Founders Award, Graduate SBA Emerging Leaders Program, Honoree Smart CEO, Brava. Is it Brava?
It is Brava.
I believe so, yeah. And then MEA Magazine, woo, 50 Women of Influence and Power. Washington Business Journal, Women Business Award Rising Star, and the American Small Business Coalition 2008 Member of the Year. Courtney holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Georgetown University. You better stop being shy over there, woman, and go with things. You have done your work. You have done it all, done all your background, and you deserve this. So, clap, 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 because it's not to garner all of this earned media for people to recognize your work. So often we don't get recognized for the work we do. So often it's just expected of us as women and as business owners to do these things. So when people actually take a step back and say, I see you and I want to recognize you, that's amazing because there's so many of us out there.
Thank you so much.
Kudos to you, Courtney.
Thank you.
I want to get right into this because we've been talking about Next Level since 2020. We developed this program called Next Level Business Transformation, and we did a whole 8-week crunch program to help our women survive, and not only survive, but thrive during COVID. But you hear the phrase next level over and over again. Everybody's going to take your business or you to the next level. And I just wanted to hear from my different interviews. When you hear the phrase next level, what does it mean to you as an entrepreneur?
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. We are, as you mentioned, an excited supporter of your entire network. And as I have done some of the things that you talked about, Goldman Sachs, 10,000 Small Business, Emerging Leaders, Next Level to me really was about repeated documented processes that enable growth. That can be, I'm so glad you're doing the financial session later this week, because there was a long time where things were in my head, right? We've been in business for 25 years, and I don't really think I took us to the next level for at least 10 to 15 of those years, because we were providing stellar services, but they weren't repeatable, documented. I didn't read my financials correctly. I mean, I knew enough, but I didn't know enough. And I think it's the education that you have to do as an entrepreneur to be able to take the company to the next level.
I think it's so important that you said that. We have a program called Financial First Weekend Series. It's a part of the SBA's Navigator program. And
Oh, right.
so many people think, kind of like you thought back then, Courtney, hey, I've got this. And they really don't know what they don't know. And so it's always a struggle to get people to sign up. It's like, oh, I'm making money. Right. But
Right.
is it really what you need to be doing? And I'd love for you to dive a little bit deeper into what you really learned when you actually learned your financials. You know, what were those things that kind of came out of that for you?
Well, it's kind of, for me, you know, I knew how much money was coming in, and I knew how much money just inherently, as you know, roughly a $1 million business back then, it was enough in my head to know when we were going to be profitable. But being able to truly analyze, read your balance sheets, your P&L statements, and make, even more importantly, use those things for your growth and budgets for not just the next year, but the next 5 years, projections. And most importantly, that's how you're going to get backing from any bank for any loan or anything else that you want to do. So if you can't make projections based on, you know, accurate financial statements and be able to read them, it hampers your ability to grow or any access to capital. I was lucky enough to get us as far as I, you know, could, and finally come to the conclusion that I needed a lot more financial education, which I have done over the last 10 years or so.
So I saw that you were with Emerging Leaders, that's the SBA program,
Mhm.
but you also did the SACS 10,000. Here's my other question. How do you address continued personal development as a CEO? How important is it to your entrepreneur journey?
It's interesting that you say that, because it's when I was in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program, and you've got to give yourself, you know, 5 goals over the next 5 years and build out a plan. And that's when I put into my plan my own personal health, wellness, and leadership development, because I was so focused on business for so long that one of the goals was to lose 100 pounds. And I did that over the next year and a half. After that was one of my metrics, and I was tracking to it. And it's amazing when I started taking care of myself, how incrementally our business grew. I was much stronger and able to focus, to be a better leader, you know, meditating, all sorts of things. But literally we grew by maybe 25% in the next year or two, when I finally started realizing that burning myself out was not going to be beneficial to the business. So I really encourage everyone to start thinking about what they're doing for themselves. I mean, it's that whole put your mask on first, right? But in all honesty, and now I've been in business for 25 years. So if I don't stop, you will just burn yourself out. You can work only 80 hours a day for so long and ignore all of those things, including leadership development, including, you know, going to the kinds of programs we're talking about and attending events that you're doing all over Texas, all of those sorts of things. And then you've got to add in time for your family and friends, because if you're not doing anything fun, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing everywhere else. So I've had also the really fortunate ability to create a good network over the last 25 years. So even when I'm out, if I'm at a Women Impacting Public Policy board meeting, or we're at the Hub Zone Council, or I'm doing something with you, all of these things, then I have woven into, you know, personal friendships, so that you can do a little bit of both, because it's hard to have enough time to do everything that you need to do.
That's amazing. We were in the conference in Houston. I spoke on Be Unstoppable, Know the Truth About You. And truth is really just an acronym. And it's so funny that you said that, because the T equals top priority. Take care of yourself first. And everybody pushes back on that because, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. But you cannot bring your best self to the forefront if you don't have your best self.
I don't think you could have convinced me that that would have helped me grow my business. I knew I needed to do it. I knew I needed to take care of myself. But I wasn't, when I started that journey, I did not see the correlation to being a better business owner, being a better friend, all of the things. But I really didn't anticipate the revenue growth that would actually afford me.
I'm so glad you're sharing that, because there is probably a million women that need to hear this.
No kidding.
And make the correlation that when I feel better, that my health is my wealth. And when I bring that to the table, I can do a better job across the board. Just the whole way you think and the whole way you engage people, how you feel about yourself, your confidence.
Your confidence, all of it, yeah.
100 pounds. It changes the whole way that you engage with other people. And so, wow. I can't believe I just came back from the conference. We talked about this, and Courtney goes, yep, that's number one right there. Take care of yourself. What kind of personal development do you do for yourself? Well, besides, I know you did Site Fifth Avenue, but that was a while ago. But now, after you've gone through these kind of structured programs, what kind of things do you do as an entrepreneur to continue to develop your leadership skills and your toolkit as the lead for the company?
I think it's really important to develop your own small network, right? You can do this very formally in something like a Vistage and pay a lot of money, but you can also create small groups of other women-owned businesses, veteran-owned business owners. For me, it's about keeping around other people, because that's what I learned through Emerging Leaders or Goldman Sachs. While the curriculum was amazing, the value to me was discussion with other business owners to figure out, what trials and tribulations other people are going through, and those are things you can talk about with your employees, right? So you've got to be, creating a network that is supportive, where you can ask for, referrals, or you can say, and you feel comfortable saying, here's a problem I'm having. Have you dealt with such a thing in the past? And do you have any advice? I think that's the thing more than anything. If I look back on my career, the one thing I didn't do well was to seek assistance. And I had extremely capable other business owners that were in my network and around me. And I was afraid of admitting things I didn't know. So I really, really encourage everyone to create a network that you are comfortable in, right? Because it's not going to work if you're feeling that you can't say something. But I wasted some time. I could have gotten some help. I could have made some better decisions, like all of these things, because I was young and afraid that it was going to appear that I didn't know what I was doing.
That is such, wow, Courtney, that's another great comment, because I think so many women feel that exact same way. I don't want the people around me to think that I don't know, but all of us don't know things. I remember someone was interviewing me and asked me about running a nonprofit. So I've had my own company. I started and ran an association, a membership-based association. And I said, running a nonprofit was nothing like I thought it would be. It's a totally different animal. And you're consistently asking people for help because things are just done very differently. And it seems like it would all be the same. But if you're going to build something big, something bigger, if you're just going to do something on the side, then maybe. But if you're really going to build something, and we're serving women across 30 states, and you want to continue to expand on that footprint, it's a whole nother game. And so understanding that and trying to seek out advice from people it's a really big deal because there are people that have already been where we're trying to go.
Right.
They've already been there.
I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Why did I think I needed to do that? I would have gotten to where we are so much more quickly if I had relied on the people that are in my network, because I have an amazing network and they were there. And eventually, we all come to that point, which is what makes me want to give back. Once you've been in business for 25 years, I like to do things like this, and you're so kind to have me. But I think it's important to be honest, open, transparent, talk about journey, and to give that support to other veteran-owned, women-owned businesses, because it's so easy to forget those steps and to feel like you're alone as an entrepreneur.
I like the other thing you said. There are a lot of structured groups out there that are fee-based, but take initiative. Bring the women together in your circle. Maybe some you admire, maybe some you really like working with, and say, hey guys, we're gonna have lunch once a month. And this is just gonna be us. Right. We're just gonna chat about whatever. We're not trying to make a deal. We're just here to support each other. Maybe we end up just talking about fun things. Maybe a problem comes up and someone has a solution. But this is our time, our CEO time. I like our circles of sisters. I've been trying to get women to really get together and to form those circles and to connect and stay connected, because a lot of what we need is right there. Like you said, It's right there in your network, but we're not reaching out and grabbing it.
I couldn't agree more. And, nothing against Vistage. There's also WPO. There's so many good networks if you want formality. I think it depends on whether you can garner the kind of responsibility and dedication you need from your group if you do it on your own, which can be done if you are selecting the right people, and then it's free, or the wine that you're having, or the whatever it is that your lunch you're eating, etc.
I think that's awesome. So when you talked about next level, and you said it took you a while before you really felt like your business was moving in that direction, would you say your business has legitimately moved to the next level? And if so, share some examples of what that next level experience looked like for global services.
Yeah, actually, I would say there was a real transformation for global services when we moved from individual projects, one-time based, into a subscription based, whether we're helping you manage your GSA schedule or a subscription for a certain number of hours for proposal development. But we built a model that allows us to do two things. It allows us to have, recurring revenue, right? And you're able to manage your cash flow a lot better, because essentially what your monthly fees are going to be. But it also allows us to service more clients. We focus on a single thing. You can teach and make someone an expert at GSA, one single solicitation, the GSA schedule, and then everyone gets an expert, but you're fractionally paying for those services. But what it really did was help us expand by 50% in 3 years. Not to mention, more importantly for entrepreneurs, it's giving me a recurring revenue base that will potentially be able to help me in the sale of the company. Because prior to that, revenue is revenue, but if you have no booked revenue, what is it worth? So it is going to do both of those things. And I really believe that's the next level for me, right? Now I'm starting to look at, what can we do to make sure that this will exist beyond me, documented processes. We're building a software tool to better gather and secure the data from our clients for the proposals, all of the kinds of things that if you were to look in and say, is that company worth something to purchase down the road? We want to put those things in place. And that's the kind of next level as you start to think about what, other journeys there may be. I think we all know this as entrepreneurs. It's probably not a one and done for any of us. So you get that spirit and you like to work with your team. I have a phenomenal team. And two of my employees have been with me over 20 years.
Wow.
So we keep a team, we've got a great camaraderie, but we also provide great service. And, you know, up until that moment, it was, you've got to close 20 to 30 individual contracts every month. And that was a churn and burn that was not completely sustainable. It was sustainable. It wasn't, growth wasn't going to be possible, right? We were going to stay at $1 million a year. So for me, I think that's the next level, and I'm excited. We continue to hone those processes. We continue to build the tools, make sure our technology is up to date, and all of those things. But this has to be able to exist beyond me, or even, you know, the 7 people we have working with me right now.
I think you just made like 3 great points in that statement. One, and our next level business transformation, and we've got so much pushback from a couple of our clients on this, and getting them to do their policies and procedures.
Yeah,
like, you know, what are your
flows.
operating procedures? And man, people did not want to kind of write that out, and it's work. But once it's done, Courtney, it's transformational. Because it's not a conversation you have to have anymore. It's documented, but also it allows you to keep doing what we in the military call corrective actions, looking at those policies because they're written out and saying, is this outdated? Is it still relevant? Are there changes we need to make? Is there time being lost somewhere? I'm so glad you said that, because I don't think people think about putting their policies and procedures and their operating procedures as a next level move.
Well,
but
and
that's
then they
a
don't
next level
assess
internal
them.
move. Say it again.
That they also don't assess them. This is not something you do once and put on a shelf.
Exactly.
Right. It's like building yourself a growth plan, patting yourself on the back, and not looking at the metrics and not honing that moving forward. So it's not a one-time thing either.
Yeah, I think the same way with the business plan. I hate to call it a plan. I like to call it a strategy, because you want to keep looking at it. You want to keep adjusting it to go with the trends and whatever you're dealing with, so that that business plan is a living document. It's not something you wrote once and kind of passed out to people and you never look at it again, but it is legitimately your guide. It's your strategy. It's like a workout strategy. Okay, I'm going to do this every day because this is what I'm trying to achieve. Your business strategy is the same thing. I'm going to do this every day because this is what I'm trying to achieve. Another great point you hit is the difference between marketing and sales. When you talk about closing those deals, and so many businesses think, oh, I put my marketing out and I post it on social media and it's on my website. And then they're just kind of sitting on their sofa thinking, hey, business coming. And it's like, no, you got to do that sales piece. And so can you talk a little bit about how you guys learned it? Because I know a lot of women statistically work in operations, not in sales. And so it's not something that may be natural for everybody, because they didn't work on the sales side of the company. They worked on the operation side. So they know all the pieces they need to put in place, but then they're not deal closers. So was that natural for you, or did you guys have to do some learning there? How did that work?
I actually went in the reverse. I started selling as I bought Global Services 6 years into, and I had built it because I was our primary salesperson. So I will say that sales does sales is not a great word either, right? Business development comes very natural to me. And it's the thing I like the most. I love meeting people, talking about, and I love educating, because not everyone is eligible and not everyone needs a GSA schedule. And there are so many of my competitors out there that are, just giving misinformation. So I like the opportunity to help the people that really need it and to help the people that don't need it to understand that. So to your point though, it's about confidence. Sales is about, but in my estimation, because it's my company, if I am not confident about our services and I, don't have a good handle on how to describe why we are the right fit for another organization, maybe then you need to make sure you have the right salespeople, right? I mean, maybe you, because you're operational as a business owner, if you're truly uncomfortable then perhaps you either get some training, or we don't have to do everything in our business. We have to understand that, but we don't have to perform every task in our business. There may be someone that works for you or someone that you need to hire that's better suited to do the networking, to, get out there and don't just market on social media and hope your phone rings.
Exactly. So you had a sales forecast. You knew about your suspects and your prospects and how to like work that whole process. I find so many people when you say sales forecast, you get the deer in the headlights kind of look like, what's that?
If you don't know what a sales funnel is, then you need to start doing some education for sure.
Exactly. And I think another great point you made is that we always want to do it all because we feel like that's saving you money. But if you can't close deals, you're not saving any money. You're losing money.
For sure.
Literally, you're bleeding. So if you're not a salesperson, you don't know how to do your sales, that's definitely an investment you want to make because that's going to be the growth of your business, getting those clients. So great point there that I think, again, when you're small, one of the reasons why you stay small is because you're thinking, I can do it all. And in essence, sometimes you can't. You've got to bring in the people that have the expertise, and commission-based works. I mean, I worked in sales and pretty much all the times it's commission. You either make the sale or you don't really make the money. You get a very small base, to come in and do it. But your real money is in closing the deals.
If you're good at it, yeah, you can make a ton of money.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't, as a small business owner, I wouldn't hire anybody that's not good at it. So anybody that says, oh, I don't want the commission is probably because you can't close the deal and you just want me to pay you to show up. So you want that person that says, yep, I'll take the commission, no problem. I know what I'm doing. I know I can get this done and I can make a ton of money. And so you just broker a really good deal, and that's who you look for. And so sales is so key in so many of our business owners. I think particularly women and also minorities, we don't realize that, hey, if that's not your area of expertise, you need to grab somebody, connect with somebody that does that. And sometimes it's not these big companies that sell you that they can do stuff. Sometimes it's finding that right person that believes in what you're doing and can get out there and just really like toot your horn and get those people, identify them and close that deal.
Agreed.
Awesome. So now tell us a little bit about why you're so supportive of the military community. I know that you have some veterans in your network and you support particularly us and other groups in the veteran community. Tell me a little bit about that connect, or just why you feel that's important.
Yeah, we have made a dedication to work with veteran-owned businesses, and even more specifically, women-owned veteran businesses, because I think it's such an amazing cross-section. And those clients that we've taken on, or employees that I've hired that are veterans, have a natural leadership and the ability to accept responsibility, unlike other organizations or employees, and a dedication to the organization and what they do, I think, more than so many others. But I also think it's a very underserved community, and I think it is not necessarily naturally intuitive. I don't think enough veterans understand that they have a skill set that is so much better suited to become business owners than many, many others. And I want to make sure they see that transition, that they can see that this is a really viable path. Again, we focus on federal contractors, so I probably see more veteran-owned and women-owned veteran-owned businesses than most people, because that tends to be where a lot who come out of service tend to want to focus to continue to serve, right? And I feel, not having the opportunity to have served myself, that doing work with other women-owned, veteran-owned businesses really gives me the opportunity to try and support the mission of any one of the agencies, certainly the branches, without having had that personal experience myself.
And I know you said that some of them are better suited. Can you talk a little bit about the skill set or the things that you see that make them like really suited for the business industry? I don't think it's top of mind always when someone's
Yeah.
transitioning, because everybody's telling you to get a job. They're not telling you to get a career. They're not telling you to look at what's best suited for you. They're using the terminology, be employed, get a job. And so
Mm,
that's really saying work for somebody else and
yeah.
not, go out and strike it out on your own. So what are you seeing? Some of those skill sets, some of those traits or personal characteristics or professional characteristics that you see in the veteran community?
Well, one of the things, I mean, without being, cliche, but the leadership that you learn while serving works both as leading your staff as well as portraying that leadership outwardly to a client, right? So first and foremost, I have a friend that came out of the Army and runs a team also of business development executives helping companies do business in the federal government. And the thing that I noticed as he has the respect of people as you're running a proposal or you're doing capture, putting teammates together, he has a very natural ability to just get people's respect instantaneously. And you and I were talking about another woman-owned, veteran-owned business earlier before we got on this podcast, and she has the same thing. The thing I love most about working with others like that is you go into the organization and they're leading, right? And that also portrays outward. They have the confidence to be able to talk to ordering agencies, to win contracts and all of those sorts of things. And the dedication, right? The things that you've learned and the discipline to follow through. Not everyone, some people are big idea people and they can't actually make the follow through. And I think that service, military service, teaches you the sorts of, and gives you the tools that you need to make sure that you're actually building that strategy, that you're enacting it, right? I mean, you can't just come up with big ideas all day, no matter how good they are, if you can never put them into practice.
Wow, that's such an amazing point to make. We hear people talk all the time about the skills that women and men who have served come out with, and of course they use the term grit. But I think what you just talked about there, that leadership, that ability to form a team, and also that ability to command respect at a certain level, that it's just kind of a natural thing that if you've been trained properly, you kind of bring it into that next environment. So, I mean, that's really interesting. And you can mention Lori. Lori was on last month. She was our closeout for Black History Month, and she is amazing.
She's great.
Amazing.
Lori
She's
is an
doing
amazing friend.
work. She's an amazing leader. And yeah, so you can definitely mention her and talk about your experiences with Lori, because we have to champion each other, and we have to be our own referral system and let people know, hey, these are great people over here. Do you know them? Have you met them?
Lori is amazing. She's a great client, an even better friend, and is a really good example of someone that was able to very quickly learn a lot about federal contracting, and to lead her team and to know when she needed outside resources for certain things, like a GSA schedule. So we work with her, or her sales team that she's hired, and other key aspects, because the thing that Lori grasped is that you don't have to do everything yourself.
Delegation is key. And it's something that I think it's often missing in the small business community, because again, small and limited funds, you figure like, I've got to do it all. But there are some creative ways. I mean, I'm learning to myself as a nonprofit executive, you're trying to get everything done and there's not a lot of money to throw around, but you got to find ways to bring other people into your circle and build a team that can really be functional and get the job done. It's not a snap your finger kind of thing, but it is doable. And it's something that we all should be working on. So I think that's a great point. So the other question I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to an up and coming entrepreneur, veteran or non-veteran, about starting a business or growing a business? We work with businesses that are growing. They're in their growth mode, and growing can be painful. And we often hear people saying, hey, I'm shutting this down. I just can't get to that next level. I can't seem to move past this. It's a very difficult time. And we hear the statistics that a lot of businesses don't make it past 7, 5, 7, that 10 years, and it's like it's over for them. So kudos to 25 years of doing this, Courtney. You have blown the statistics away. But what do you say to those business owners? And I would love to focus on our clients, those business owners that are in that growth mode. I've been here, I've been doing this, but I'm not appearing to get to where I really want to get. What's some advice to them?
And the first thing I would say, outside of what I already did, which is be sure to use your network, because there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of people out there that can help you understand how to scale. But I would say, don't be afraid to fail. I think my biggest lessons in 25 years have been my failures, not my successes, because it was my failures, here and there, that helped me understand what I needed to do to be successful. So sometimes you've got to not be afraid of it, and even more so, embrace what it was in that particular project, thing, or whatever the failure is, because that's how you can see what you do need to grow. But you also have to get out of your business. Everybody says it, but if you're working in the business, you're not working on the business. And if you can't be your chief strategy and growth officer and really spend time, because you're so billable that you actually can't help the organization grow, then you're doing too much, and you need to hire. And to your point, we all want to stretch, right? But you're not helping yourself. You will get to where you need to be faster and make more money, even for yourself, by spending more money now and trying to get yourself not 100% in the business.
So you have a team now, and Courtney, I think you've had some of your people with you for a long time. What did it look like for you, like getting that first staff person on? Was it a federal contract? Was it really just, getting, a working capital loan? Like, how did you make that decision? And then how did you fund it to just start building that team, which we know we all have to do, but you got to take that first step. What does that first step look like?
Yeah, well, sometimes for me, the first step was to step away from some salary, right? So that I could hire someone else to enable myself to grow the revenue, to a cyclical. And it's always about that. The more we're spending, the more we see less as business owners, but you've got to be able to see beyond that. And the first time, every time I make a hire, it's that same exact, okay, are we here? Can we sustain? But if I bring someone else on, and I'm about to hire right now, next month, by bringing that resource on, it will enable us to have more time to work on all of the other things to bring in more clients. And just working everyone to the bone is really hard too, right? So even you get to 2 staff, 3 staff, 4 staff, 5 staff, 6 staff, 7. And as the company grows, if you stretch everyone else out so much for too long, you won't keep people either, right? So you've got to make sure that you're always analyzing where you could be if you had one more resource, and start to make those sorts of decisions. For government contractors, it's really different, right? We're a business to business because we're helping government contractors in that space. But that's a whole different ballgame, because you win your first contract and you may need to onboard 25 or 50 people. And yesterday you were 3. So I advise everyone that's in government contracting, as you are writing those proposals, as you're thinking those things through, you better know how you're going to recruit, you better know how you're going to onboard, you better know how you're going to get to day one on that contract. It's a great problem to have. But I think sometimes it's shocking for when women business owners, veteran business owners win their first contract, I think it's a shocking reality of how quickly you've got it to accomplish those things. Luckily, that's not my space in terms of having to scale that fast, because then you really do need capital. You've got to find, if your bank's not going to fund because you haven't started yet, traditionally, banks don't really understand government contracting. So there may be, we partner with a company called Parabolis that is not factoring, but is also not a bank, right? That can understand government contracting and provide some assistance, because how do you pay your first payroll? We have never had to have that problem because I'm growing along with revenue, but you have a huge spike and you better have access to capital. And so that's my last, sort of advice of the day, which is you have to get money when you don't need it. You have to get your lines of credit in place before that moment, because no one's going to give it to you at the time that you're stretching. So when I had the most money in the bank, I would go for lines of credit or increasing my lines of credit exactly at the time that I do not need it in any way, so that I've always had it there in the background to support growth over time.
Funny, that is such a good point. I constantly tell my clients, it's like getting a Macy's card. When you go to business credit and you ask them for 10,000 and they say, I'll give you 500, take 500.
Yep.
Because as you pay that back and use it, they're going to keep building on that 500. They just want to make sure that you're a good risk. And so it's so funny. I think back in the day, you went to get a Macy's card and they gave you 250. Nobody jumped up and down. They took the 250, got their stuff, paid it off,
Yep.
bought some more stuff. And before you knew it, you got a $25,000 Macy's card.
Yeah, exactly. Like you look down, like,
thing.
when did this turn to $50,000? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but I think when business owners come out there because they need money, they're like, oh, they only want to give me $500. What am I going to do with $500? Same thing you did with $250 with Macy's. You're going to spend it, you're going to pay it back. They're going to see that you spend it and pay it back. And then they're going to throw some more at you. And you want to get it, like you said, while you don't need it. Because when you need it, everybody realizes you need it, and then you become a risk that they don't want to take. And I love lines of credit. When I had my business in New York, that was the first thing I got. I got a $25,000 line of credit. It was fabulous because you spend, you pay it back, and it's right there again.
Absolutely.
I never took out a loan. We never had to take out a loan because we had our line of credit. And so we used that wisely to do whatever it was that we needed to do, and then paid it back. And I don't think they increased us because they started us out with a lot. So we really didn't need an increase. But
it depends on your line of business, right? I mean, if you're it depends on your line of business. If you're in, for us, we haven't had to either, because I don't have to deal in products, right? I'm not buying a bunch of things that I got to pay for right now that I won't deliver for 30 days to my clients. It's all services based. So I haven't had the kind of struggle with liquidity or cash that a lot of businesses that are moving product tend to have. And then you need to have the right partner. Someone's got to back your invoices, however it is, you've got to find the right financial partner for your model.
Absolutely. And that's another thing we talk about in our Financial First Weekend series. It's just really understanding your profit and losses. Where are those profits coming from? Can you make more? Are you underpricing yourself? Are you overpricing yourself? And then when you look at your losses, okay, well, where are these losses? And can you reduce them? Are you spending too much for a product? Have you repriced this lately? To see, can I get this cheaper? Can I get it faster? Can I only get it when I need it? So I'm not just spending money that I can't get back and I just have stuff sitting around. So really kind of looking at the whole picture. Sometimes you need to pull back and have that devil advocate, somebody coming in asking the questions that you haven't asked yourself because you're so busy just doing, like you said, I'm doing it. And I'm not pulling back to really think about it.
I see that happen to services contractors as well. They get so wrapped up in what the winning price is, they're not looking at what their margins and profit are, right? They're so concentrated on winning that bid that there are times that you shouldn't bid and you should walk away, because if that's the winning price, you actually can't perform what you said you're going to do at that price or provide the quality of people that you said you can. And so it's a balance. And I think we get really caught up on winning contracts, product or services, or, not every contract is a good contract, and you have to know when not to bid something.
That's a really good point. I think we even see that in the nonprofit industry, people chasing dollars because
Sure.
someone comes out with an offering, and that's not really what you do, but that money's there, and they're like, oh, you should go after that. We've had people do that or say that to us numerous times because, we focus on the veteran community, and they'll say, oh, but it's women, all women, oh, but it's entrepreneurs. I'm like, no, we have to stay aligned to our mission. So if it doesn't allow us to be specific and to really home in on our population, it's not something we want to chase, because it's like you said, you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to pull you away from what you're really trying to do.
Your mission.
And,
yeah.
Right. And then, if you fail at it, if you drop the ball, then it becomes a real negative, that you weren't able to do whatever it is that you said you would do. And it's a lesson learned sometimes that, hey, I don't want to jump at the table to this. This isn't really defined yet. It's something that we're trying to put together. And then somebody says, hey, well, can you do it at this level? And you say yes, but then all of a sudden you can't, because it was something that you were just defining and it hadn't really established itself yet. So really think back and don't chase every dollar, because like you said, every contract is not the right contract for your company, even if you are a service provider. If that margin is so tight that you walk away with no profit, what was the point of doing it?
Yeah, and in this environment, the inflationary environment post-COVID, it's talent has gotten just as much more expensive as products have. So if you haven't, to your point, if you're basing your pricing model on what was 3 years ago and how you could staff, as opposed to doing new salary surveys today and having an understanding of what your real cost will be, it's a losing proposition.
Yeah, we had some women in one of our coalition meetings that was talking about the difficulty they were having bringing on tech people, that they couldn't compete with some of the larger companies. And so even though they could go after these contracts, they weren't sure they could staff them if they got them, because of the limitations on how much they could spend on staffing. They couldn't compare it to some of the corporate groups. So, I mean, that's something we definitely have to look at for our small businesses, is that, hey, you have these contracts out here, how do we make sure we're lining up what we're saying that they can spend with what the general population is doing, and make sure that we're creating a balance of competition here, and we're not kind of pushing them out of the game. And I know that can be that can be difficult. I'm sure you guys see some of that when they're doing their scheduling. They're looking at, hey, what are we doing over here? How are we going to bring these people on? How are we going to bring this group on to do this project? And then all of a sudden you hit a row where you're like, hey, we've been recruiting for this for weeks and we haven't gotten any bites yet.
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. And I'm always saying to people, what you can do and what you should do are not always the same thing, right? So stay in your lane. Where are your margins? Where do you recruit the best? What are the projects that are going to allow you to be able to succeed with exemplary performance? Because that's what you should be focused on. And people will say, but I want to keep the lights on, so I'm going to take this set aside, and it's not in my wheelhouse at all, but it's gonna, overhead dollars. And I just disagree with it. I think you need to hone a very specific niche. I think you need to be the best at what you do, and that's how you're going to be successful. But it also, by keeping there, will allow you to better recruit, keep your overhead down, have higher margins, because at the end of the day, we are not nonprofits, and we need to make sure that we can pay our people and that we can perform and all of those sorts of things.
You know what, Courtney? I'm gonna hit back on that, because for me, a nonprofit is just a business that's tax exempt, and
true.
we all have to be able to do that.
Yeah,
so we have to be
true.
able to bring on qualified people that
True.
get the job done, that perform, that sustain, that can scale. because these are the things that funders are asking for, but yet oftentimes the quality of the grants and the information and the funding, the way it's laid out, doesn't project that. That's what people are saying, but
Yeah.
that funding is not projecting how those things get done. And it's a really kind of conflict.
There's a difference between a donation and a grant or a sponsorship, right? And to your point, you know, I sit on the board of directors for Women Impacting Public Policy, and we're always talking about, is this specific to women-owned businesses, not just women, right? Our mission is, and great for female executives and all of those things, but that is actually not our mission. It's to help women-owned businesses. But then we get, as any organization can, right? You see a carrot over here. But these grants, they require services, and can you scale just like a contract, right? So I think that's a really normal thing to have happen, but you need to make sure that you're capable of providing the service. And what is your margin? I mean, it's not just free money. There are services that are associated with what you said you're going to do, and can you do it? Is it in your mission? Or just like any business owner, for sure.
I'm totally with you on that. We're always having that conversation. Does it align with our mission? Is there any consistency to it? Is this just a one-time throw at us?
Right.
And then next year we have to figure out if this is good, how do we do it again? Still like working all of that through, because it's so weird how funding is done in the nonprofit community. And it's interesting, we get a lot of women that come to our door and say, I want to start a nonprofit. Or I want to start a social enterprise. So many women want to give back, but they want to give back in a way that they can also make money. So we really encourage people on the social enterprise side. But we don't discourage people from nonprofits if that's what they want to do. It is, in fact, a business, just a different type of business. And they just need to understand, you know, what they're getting themselves in, because people are not just going to throw money at you.
Well,
people are just going to throw money at us. No, they're not.
There was a point in time where there was a lot more free dollars available, right? True donations. And we've seen in the nonprofit world that it's gone to asks for services, right? So there's not so many just straight donations, and part of that is COVID, and part of that is something that changed over time. But even if it's, you know, do this survey, we want the data from your members, and that's what we're going to be buying for our $50,000 or whatever it is. So yeah, I totally agree.
Not just the data, also with the exposure.
Right.
A lot of companies are saying, hey, I want to do more business with small business owners. I want to do more business with women or veteran women. And so I want to work with you to get exposure to that group so that I can begin to build my network of this, from this population that we actually want to serve, and be able to show that there's somehow in our catchment. So it's a two-way street. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that's a two-way street, but you have to understand who you're serving. So look, we're at 9:58, and I want to make sure you have the last word here. So I've asked all my questions, but I definitely want to see, was there anything else around Next Level or around this conversation that we had that you think, hey, we really need to just, you know, home in on this again, remind everybody that they need to do this, or that this is that? You know, what are you thinking when you think about, hey, these are kind of my last words to the group? What are those last words?
So first of all, I want to thank you for having me. I think what the VWEC is doing is amazing. We're such a happy supporter of the network. But I want to remind everyone that you can do this, not to be afraid, that as an entrepreneur, you have the ability, and certainly as a veteran, you have the ability to take your business to the next level, but you have to take it seriously. There has to be strategy and a plan, right? Educate yourself. There are so many places you can. The SBA Emerging Leaders Program is free. So is Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business. All of these places that you can put yourself in a better position moving forward, I highly recommend it. But again, thanks so much for having me.
Courtney, thank you so much for spending time with us. This is Tuesday at 9, Next Level Business Time. 2023, we've been focusing in on our women. This is Women's History Month. And so we're highlighting those women who are taking their business to the next level. Our next Tuesday at 9 will be at the end of the month, March 28th. So we'll be talking about who's coming up, another special guest, another woman who's killing it out there. In the meantime, make sure you look up our Financial First Weekend series. We talked about the importance of finances. You can nominate yourself, or if you know a veteran-owned female business that needs some support, nominate them. Get them connected. Maybe they haven't heard about it. And so you can do more than say thank you for your service. You can be a service to them by connecting them to the resources they need to succeed. Continue to have an amazing Women History Month. Women helping women. You know I believe in that. And sisterhood and action beyond words. Ask yourself daily, what have you done for another sister in your circle? Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, Courtney.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.